And TopStory is always brought to you by Vodafone. My name is Mensah. It is now official. NDC MPs will be boycotting government business for the rest of the time. Their colleague, Gyakye Quason, MP for Asin North, remains on trial. Mr. Quason was finally sworn in today, exactly a week after his overwhelming victory in the Asin North by-election. But he faces the real possibility of jail time if he's convicted of several criminal offences, including perjury. More on this shortly. But first, though, here is Speaker of Parliament Alban Bagbin swearing in the latest addition to Parliament, Mr. Quason himself, on the day former President John Mahama led a high-powered NDC delegation to witness the ceremony.
Take the oath of a member of Parliament. I, James Gyakye Quason, having been elected a member of Parliament, do in the name of the Almighty God swear that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the Republic of Ghana, as by law established, that I will uphold, preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution of the Republic of Ghana, and that I will faithfully and conscientiously discharge the duties of a member of Parliament. So help me God. Honorable members, congratulations.
Well, while this was going on, James Gyakye Quason was actually expected in court for his criminal trial. We'll tell you what happened in court today, because he could not be in two places at the same time. This was an issue actually on the floor of Parliament today. The minority leader, Dr. Gyakye Quason, served a notice formally on the floor that henceforth they will be boycotting government business so long as their colleague remains on trial.
Right, Honorable Speaker, I must commend our colleague, Mr. Quason, for his courage and resilient spirit. He has prevailed in the face of persecution. I am aware that today he is due to appear in court, the Speaker, to defend the trump-up charges against him. My message to him is to take solace in the good book, in Deuteronomy 31:6, which says, the Speaker, do not be afraid or terrified because of them. The Lord your God goes with you. He will never leave you nor forsake you. The Speaker, I wish to serve notice that the entire minority group will accompany our colleague to court today and any other day that he is to appear in court. Mr. Speaker, we are solidarizing with our colleague, and we will not participate in the business of the House anytime our colleague is in court, and we will be withdrawing from the chamber after this ceremony if the court processes indeed happens today. So, Speaker, amid persecution, cooperation will certainly suffer. So, Speaker, a word to a wise is in Asin North. A word to a wise is in Asin North. So, Speaker, let me use this opportunity to thank you once again for the opportunity. But let me also note that it is only until you swore him in that our colleague, Honorable James Gyakye Quason, swore the oath of allegiance, and not when he filed his nomination at the Electoral Commission. That should be noted by all stakeholders of state. Mr. Speaker, I urge the government to listen to the good people of Asin North and do the right thing. I urge you. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
And I want to bring in my parliamentary correspondent who covered a press conference shortly after what you just had there on the floor, the minority address, a news conference. Kweku, so did they give us a bit more context and explanation to this decision?
Yes, Evans, indeed, they are expanding the demand. They are now not limiting their non-appearance on the floor to only Gyakye Quason, according to that press briefing delivered by the Deputy Minority Leader. This will include the trial of Dr. Gyakye Quason, who is the minority leader, and also the trial of one of their senior and leading members, Honorable Collins Dauda. Whenever these three persons are supposed to be in court, they are serving notice that they will not show up on the floor.
The clear and obvious prosecution of Honorable Gyakye Quason in a criminal trial over a matter that has been settled by the electorate of Asen North through his overwhelming victory. As you know, he was supposed to even go to court today. Yeah. And again exposes the determination of the Attorney General to aid this government's pursuit of its ungodly agenda to weaken and break the resilience of the NDC minority in Parliament. A recent escalation of a similar unwarranted court cases has seen the Akufo-Addo government renew its harassment of our Member of Parliament of Asutifi, the Honorable Collins Dauda, over completely unsubstantiated, over trumped-up charges, thereby confirming that this government will stop at nothing to abuse prosecution and court processes in order to reduce the strength of the minority in this House. However, as a united 137 minority group, restored and re-energized by the good people of Asen North, we wish to serve notice that from here on, we shall march with our colleague Honorable Gyakye Quason to the High Court to lend our unwavering support to him in his criminal trial. We shall continue to attend every court hearing with him in the full complement of our strength in the House. And this we shall extend to the court hearings of the minority leader himself, Honorable Atuforsen, Honorable Collins Dauda, and any other member of the minority who is currently being prosecuted by the Akufo-Addo government. It therefore stands to reason, ladies and gentlemen, that until the prosecution of our members stops, cooperation with this government and its business will suffer during all such occasions. Our message to the government is very clear. If you touch one, you touch all of us. Government must be clear in dealing with the people's representatives. The verdict of the people of Asen North, and indeed the people of Ghana, is very clear. The ultimate power belongs to the people of Ghana. And we stand with them.
Could we have a reaction from the majority side?
On the floor, the majority leader conceded that this is the verdict of the voters in Asen North, and all and sundry must respect it. But in terms of calls to drop prosecutions, among others, the closest he came to responding to the threats of the minority leadership is to say that this is solely in the bosom of the Attorney General.
Is an enemy to him. We may disagree on a few things, but I believe that across the political divide, he made so many friends. Mr. Speaker, I believe the NDC want to believe that what victory that our colleague has chalked, and indeed we must congratulate him. The NDC want to believe that this is a peak victory that would hurt the pride of the NPP, as the minority leader has alluded to. Of course, on the other hand, we, the parliamentary group of the NPP, also believe that this is a momentary victory of phantasmal character that certainly may not last. But, Mr. Speaker, that is the choice of the people of Asen North. And everybody must respect that whilst it lasts. The rest of it is in the hands of the Attorney General. Mr. Speaker, the rest of it, as we move from here, is in the hands of the Attorney General. Whilst he remains here, we can only embrace him as a member of Parliament, welcome him here to be part of the fraternity whilst it lasts.
Joining me right now is the Deputy Minority Leader, Emmanuel Kofi Buah, joins us on the telephone line right now. Thank you, sir, for your time here on Top Story. We may have lost him, but we're also being joined by the Deputy Chairman of the Finance Committee, Patrick Buah. Hello, Patrick Buah. Thanks for your time on Top Story. Oh, goodness, we may have lost both of them. We'll try and get them on the show so we can get some clarity on this decision. Because you remember, this is a case that's going to be heard on a daily basis. And my colleague, Kojo Nyako, was in court today. Kojo, whilst you were in court, Gyakye Quason was expected in the High Court, but it was also in Parliament. So what happened?
Obviously, so it was indicated that he cannot be at two places in the court. At the same time, he was being sworn in Parliament. And so the first to speak was the lawyer for James Gyakye Quason, Chachu Chikata, and he prayed the court that they should grant Mr. James Gyakye Quason some time in order, because he is on a national assignment. And this position was supported by the AG, Deputy Attorney General Alfred Tuah. And so the judge came in and said that, well, they've been served with notices from the Speaker of Parliament that Gyakye Quason is being sworn in today and thus will be unavailable in the court sitting.
And I wonder what the post that you have been having interactions with both sides of the divide, both the prosecution and then the NDC side, and they came there heavily representing and in solidarity with Gyakye Quason, although he was in Parliament. What has the NDC side been saying today?
Well, so the Director of Legal, Ibrahim Amalba, was the first to speak with us. He indicated that they are not afraid of James Gyakye Quason's prosecution and that they are fully prepared to go throughout the trial.
So we are going to argue the motion out. Don't forget that today would have been the arguments, but this has been adjourned to the sieve. We intend to put in a strong case. We are not afraid of the trial. What we don't want is for the state to use its might to re-rule the process so that our client will go to jail. We want the processes to be fair. We are not saying that we won't come and stand trial, but for the daily hearings, that is what we are against. And no criminal in this country, an accused person rather, has been brought to court every day. Why should he be Quason? And so that's what we are against.
Just a quick
I think the Attorney General does not understand his role. His role as an Attorney General is to prosecute on behalf of the Republic. And the people of this country are the custodians of the sovereignty. So if a Ghanaian feels that it's a complete waste of time to continue prosecuting the MP elects and voices out that the Attorney General should use his power of knowledge, I don't see anything wrong with that. I say we the people, it's not the Attorney General. We gave the Attorney General that power, and we are saying that exercises in this way, the Attorney General cannot be complaining. That power belongs to us. And so the Domahine was right and spot on. He got support from no less a person than a former Attorney General, Gyakye Quason. And I think that this is how we should all look at it. I disagree with Senior Sam Okujeto, who thinks that his opinion is law. And for that matter, some people should be called to the General Legal Council. He himself, as he uses one finger to point at the Domahine, five are pointing at him. He has done more harm than good when this matter came to court.
We'll hear from the Deputy Attorney General pretty shortly, but Kofi Buah, as the Deputy Minority Leader, is with us now on the phone. Hello, Mr. Kofi Buah. Thanks for your time here on Top Story.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. And good evening to your listeners.
Great to have you. Your colleague and friend on the other side, Deputy Chair of the Finance Committee, Patrick Buah, will also join us. But I need to ask you first, we just had your explanation of the decision. How do you explain that position, though, in effect, to boycott parliamentary business as long as...
I don't think that the word was to boycott parliament.
Yeah, I mean, you're going to be...
I think that what we said was that if you look at the long, concerted effort by this government, it started off when the speaker was being elected. Every attempt was made to make sure that Gyakye Quason was not part of parliament. They went all the way to basically ban him from sitting in the House, and ultimately, finally, gov't removed him. Well, today, he triumphantly entered Parliament, having been elected by his people and sworn in today. And it was obvious today, if you look at our standing orders 14-1, for anybody who was confused about the position we held. It was only when Gyakye Quason was sworn in today that he became a member of parliament.
But substantively, I want to focus on the announcement that you will be solidarizing with him in court as long as he remains on trial. Not only him, but also with your minority leader and your other colleague, Collins Dada, who is on trial. In effect, that will take you out of parliament for a long time. In Gyakye Quason's case, on a daily basis, which means you're not going to be in the House. My question to you is, how do you explain that to your constituents who will be denied representation because you've chosen solidarity with your colleagues over them?
I don't know whether you can hear me, but
I can hear you.
I think it's very, very clear that we wanted to make sure we stayed our position, that if this government continues the way they have been in attempting to basically coerce and use the power of the Attorney General to basically threaten us into somehow being afraid to do our work and represent our people, we will stand up to them. That's the point we are making.
Yeah,
and the point we are making is that, for example, we will not let the Attorney General simply go to court and just make a case that he wants members of parliament to report on a daily basis, when we have a responsibility to represent our people. We will fight that. And we have put this government on notice that if that is what they are going to do. I mean, can you explain to me why this government was so determined to get Gyakye Quason to court today on the day he was elected with his people when he's here to be sworn in? Can you explain to me why government goes back to constantly bring new charges on a case that is going nowhere with Honorable Collins Dada? On the other hand, can you explain why the leader of the minority is being harassed on a daily basis when, quite frankly, we know where this case is all about? It is very clear to us that this is all intended to basically make the minority in parliament weaker, so that we do not do our work in making sure that we can be a check on the government. We are saying that we will not be cajoled. We will stand up to this government, and if it means going with our members on a daily basis to parliament, we will do. Of course, we will not discuss strategy in terms of how we ensure that the things that we have to do in the interest of people of Ghana are done. Those are strategy. But we want to make sure the government understands that we are not going to be bullied.
So that means, in effect, and I come back to the question, you mean your primary responsibility to represent your people, but you will be in court with your colleagues in solidarity. How do you explain that to your colleagues, to your constituents?
I think we're very clear about that. I think if you look at the last 2 years, what we've done is to basically represent our people, to basically ensure that the government of Ghana runs to cooperate with government as much as possible. But it is becoming very clear to us that this government is becoming very unreasonable, and they are becoming very unreasonable, and they think that the power that the people of Ghana have given them can simply be abused and be used to basically bully people who have been elected to represent them. And we are saying that that will not happen. And that if this government thinks that they can bully us into basically being afraid, then they are wrong. And that we are going to stand up to them. That's what we are saying.
You acknowledge, though, that this will, in effect, in the Gyakye Quason case at least, take you out of parliament for the rest of this meeting at least and beyond.
Well, I think that you know I think that when you say that, it means that you know our strategy. I think we won't be discussing strategy on your radio program. But it is very clear to me that we will do everything we can to make sure we stand up to government, to make sure we solidarize with our colleagues who are in court, at the same time to make sure that we protect the interests of the people of Ghana.
Except that as far as strategy, the minority leader on the floor was very clear, unequivocal on this matter, that you withdraw and all of you will go in solidarity anytime he's in court. I mean, that is as plain as it gets, which means that you will not be...
But I'm saying that there's a lot of strategies that we have in Parliament, and we don't intend to disclose that on the radio station. But clearly, the point must be made that we will stand by our members anytime they are unjustly being harassed by this government.
I guess maybe I should ask for clarity. When you stated this on the floor as in the leadership, did you
Yes.
mean all 137 will go in and solidarize, or some will remain?
I will be going into strategy, and I won't disclose that. But the point must be made that we will stand by our members anytime this government unjustly try to basically bully them into court. We will stand by them. And in terms of how we do it, I think that we will reserve that.
Why now, though? Because I know you expanded it to include Atuk Forcing and Collins Dowd. They've been on trial for a while. Why didn't this happen then?
Because this government has been unreasonable, and we have to stand up and say enough is enough. I think enough is enough. If you look at the long abuse of power by this government, if you look at how they have harassed our colleague, Honorable Gyakye Quason, and if you look at the length they've gone, the waste, money spent, our resources, and I think that the Honorable Minority Leader spoke about it. If you look at what went on in Ascent, it calls clearly for investigation on where all this money was brought from. But we are saying that a government that has gone to that length to try to remove one member of parliament that has failed miserably should have learned that enough is enough. But for the Attorney General, for example, to be coming up to say that they will continue to be pursuing prosecution, when in fact the whole purpose was to try to remove Gyakye Quason because what? And clearly the man has done everything by the book. And today the people of Ascent, I hope you listen to the chiefs and people of Ascent that all came to Accra to basically support him. We must respect the people who have the ultimate power, the people of Ghana. And they spoke loud and clear that when they give you power, don't abuse it in Accra. And we are saying that we will no longer allow this government to continue to be very abusive to people who have been elected to represent their people. We will stand up to them.
I'm grateful. That is Kofi Buah. He is a deputy minority leader in Parliament. And talking about this strategy announced on the floor today for the minority, who and together as a collective will be solidarizing with James Gyakye Quason anytime he's in court. Talking about that will mean, in effect, and Kojo is still with me, he was in court today, this will have to begin on Thursday.
In fact, it was actually supposed to begin tomorrow, but Judge Chikata indicated that they had some processes to file at the Supreme Court in pursuit of the civil case. And so that is why they adjourned the case to the 6th, that is on Thursday.
And we've heard the NDC's concerns about this daily trial. Today we heard from the Deputy Attorney General on the matter. What was his reaction? So
he said that the Attorney General is unfazed with criticisms from all manner of quarters or something. So they have decided to protect the law. In fact, that is what they are there for. Yes,
as we indicated in court, truly, Mr. Quason is today on a national assignment. He's being sworn in. Unlike the other time that he said he was on national assignment, that we disputed. We don't dispute it. Being a member of parliament is a national assignment that he's undertaken. I think the judge also made known to us that the Speaker of Parliament had written a letter to the court. We went through the letter and we have the considered view that a request for an adjournment is in the right direction. So that's how come we never opposed the request for an adjournment.
Do you harbor any fears that this may become a norm in this particular trial?
We hope it does not become a norm. You may be an MP, that's all right. But if you have a matter in court, you must also be in court.
I want to bring in right now the Executive Director of the Africa Center for Parliamentary Affairs, is Dr. Rashid Draman, who joins us right now via Zoom. Doc, you just heard there the Deputy Minority Leader, and their strategy is very clear, as announced on the floor by the Minority Leader himself. This is an already divided Parliament. Now it's even gotten worse. You've been working with them to try and bridge the gap since we had a hung Parliament. What's your reaction to what we've just been hearing today?
Yes, Evans, I think that this 8th Parliament doesn't cease to amaze me and amaze everybody. Right from day one, I think we saw this coming, and that is why, like you rightly said, we've been calling for, some bridging of the gap, some consensus building. This strategy that has been announced today, well, I think is in their right as a minority group, to come up with all kinds of strategies to drive home their demands. But Evans, I think they've been elected to do business for this country. Much as they would play the role of holding the government to account, you don't want a situation where this strategy would backfire. If all of them are going to go to court en masse, uh, you know, we are going to have a challenge in terms of having a quorum, for instance, in Parliament. And I don't know, I mean, whether the Right Honorable Speaker can cite all the members of the minority caucus for, absenting themselves, and in that case, being in breach of one of their standing orders. You can boycott Parliament when maybe there is an issue on the floor of the House for which you disagree. Walkouts are normal, are part of parliamentary kind of strategies. But I don't know about going to court en masse and leaving the business of Parliament. So I think you pose a right question to the deputy leader in terms of are they all going to go there, and why now? Because their leader has been going to court for some time now. I mean, why didn't they all collectively go to court if, that was a strategy that could work? So I think there are a lot of challenges regarding this strategy, and they might have to think about it carefully before Ghanaians begin to get upset with the minority that they've been elected to do business for the country, and they are not in the house to do the business for which they've been elected.
I mean, beyond the concerns, I know you've expressed it. I know, to be honest, you've been in the heart of trying to negotiate a setting solution where they can collaborate and work closely. On the back of what had just happened, on the back of all the trials that is happening, should the majority side take a bit of responsibility in trying to reach out? What should happen now to get both sides to work? Because you have the mid-year budget review coming up that needs approval. In effect, if this goes through, the entire meeting of Parliament is crippled.
Yeah, indeed, and that's why, Evans, I think whilst we are, examining this strategy by the minority, I think the majority also has a very important role in this. I mean, at the end of the day, there's always going to be disagreements. I mean, even in normal parliaments that are not hanged, there are always disagreements. And the only way out, I think, in almost all instances, is for the two sides to sit down and talk. And what we are seeing is, rather than maybe the two sides coming together, I think we are seeing a parliament that is more and more divided. At the end of the day, I think if we are not careful, we are already in very serious difficulties as a country. I mean, this is going to further exacerbate our situation as a country, and Ghanaians are going to be angry with both the majority and the minority. So that's why I believe the leadership of Parliament, I think, will need to sit and seriously look at some of these issues and try to find ways of making sure that we don't have a crippled house. Otherwise, I think we have elections just around the corner. And 2024 is not very far away, and many Ghanaians are going to remember this.
I'm grateful, sir. Dr. Rashid Dramani there. Newsnight starts now.